Hello, everyone. Joe with the Healing Market, and today we're with Rene Pelletier. Hello, Rene.
Hi, thank you
Hi,
for having me.
no problem. So I saw Rene a few days ago on a homesteading group. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. Would you like to do an interview? And Rene said yes. So here we are. So Rene, tell us a bit about homesteading, about yourself, and what are we talking about today?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I am trained as a holistic medicine practitioner, and I was living in the city for, ever. And so essentially, I've gone to school to help people feel better and clear their body out of, the toxicity and stuff that we've got floating around in the air and in our waters and in our food. And in the last 4 years, I've just decided that I wasn't in the city. I was in White Rock actually, so I was on the beach, but still in a fairly kind of crowded place. And I just saw what was happening in the world, and I thought, maybe this is the time where I start to grow my own garden and raise some chickens and things like that, and be a little bit more sustainable.
Right.
So yeah, I found a property out kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm out on the west coast of BC, quite far in there. I'm on the ocean, and I decided to, start figuring out how to grow plants. Not like I've never grown plants before, but um, the weather here, sometimes we go through like massive droughts. We go through like 4 or 5 months of straight sun, and unlike what we've had in BC before. So I'm used to growing gardens in the backyard, but this isn't really garden weather because it's either drought or it's downpour. Like right now, it's downpouring. So I decided to build a greenhouse, but now I feel like it's a learning curve for the greenhouse because you may have, controlling your own atmosphere so you can decide how much heat there is in there, etc. But now you've got other things to contend with, like bugs. And bugs are like, they're just harder to deal with. You're trying to figure out what kind of bugs, trying to figure out how you're going to deal with them in a natural way without killing your plants. So huge learning curve, I'd say, from somebody who just had like a little garden in her backyard. Um, Never really raised any animals, just
What
a
kind of
cat.
animals do you have now?
So I rescued a cat. I found her outside. Somebody gave me a dog, and that was like the dog lottery. She's the best dog in the world. They're cuddling right now on their little bed.
Uh-huh.
Um, and somebody gave me two ducks, two little call ducks. So I got some rescue ducks. And then actually the dog breeder who gave me the dog, she also gave me 6 chickens. So everybody's given to me, and then I went out and I got a few more chickens and a few more ducks and some guinea fowl.
What's a guinea fowl?
They're like these weird looking birds. They almost look like what are those birds that they prey and they shove their head into into their carcass? The
I would know the name.
vulture.
Vulture.
Vulture. They look like a vulture almost because they've got like a bald head. It's really weird. But then they've got this beautiful body of black, and they've got white polka dots all over their feathers. So I got them because they eat ticks and bugs and fleas, and we have a huge tick and flea problem on the coast here.
Do they go in the greenhouse?
No, nobody goes in the greenhouse. Well, that would be interesting, but they would devour the plants. That's the problem. So I let everybody free reign. Everybody comes out during the day, and you should see like the garden. Before it was like totally overrun, and now there's like nothing left. Like they chew all the plants, even the big like bushes. You can see them bouncing to try and get like the top leaves. They desecrate everything. The chickens, and they just try and eat everything. So they're not going into the garden. I mean, the greenhouse.
Do you collect the eggs from the chickens?
I do, yeah. that's a process too, because I let them free rein.
Right.
Sometimes they feel like hiding out in the bushes and laying their eggs there.
Right.
So then I had to figure out how to deal with that. So I'd find like a bunch of eggs, but they were like eaten by somebody. Something's been eating them. So if I don't find them quick enough, they're gone.
Right.
Or I just can't find them at all. Like I've scoured the bushes. I can't find them anywhere. So now I've had to put like fake eggs or like real eggs in their little beds where they're supposed to lay. And then still sometimes that doesn't work. So then I've had to like, they've got like a chicken coop, and then outside of their coop, they've got like a little run that's gated, that's fenced. And then usually I open that and they come out onto the property. But I've had to keep them into that little run for a few days so that they have to lay there and they start getting into the rhythm of laying there. And then you should see them when I let them out. They're like, oh my God, they're like flying. I've had to duck. Some of them were flying past my head. I'm like, wow, everybody's excited today.
Would you get any beef or sheep or anything like that?
I don't have that kind of space here. Like I'm on a hill and I don't really have that kind of land where I'd love to get baby goats, but it's a whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You have, thank you, Rene. You have survival chicks. What is survival chicks?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Upside down here. So survival chicks is like my reporter in homesteading site essentially. So I've got a podcast, I've got a Facebook page, I've got an Instagram account, and it's just at Survival Chicks. And essentially, I just talk about my journey and my challenges of being a first-time homesteader. And there are a lot. Also, to mention, I've decided to make it more difficult for myself by choosing a water access only property. Ooh. So there's like, you can imagine what comes with that. Everything's got to come over by boat. And
let's slow down here for a second and explain people that are not used to these terms what it means water access only.
It means that there's no roads here, and there's your highway is the water. You have to get here by boat. There's no other way.
Is it a ferry you can bring a car over, or no?
No.
Vehicle? No vehicle.
No. There are little back roads here because it was like a little bit of a community before, but you'd have to barge your own vehicle over and get it onto land somewhere somehow, and then you could access those roads.
Right.
But those roads won't go to the main roads. You can't get anywhere with, as far as I know.
I'm gonna let me see if I can bring up your Instagram. Survival Chicks, yeah?
Yeah. So now everybody that comes over here, anybody that you get to come do some work or whatever, they have to come by boat. So you can imagine if you need like your fridge fixed, it's going to cost you a fortune. You might as well get a new fridge.
Wow. Yeah.
But what comes with that is I feel like there's challenges all the time, just as a homeowner, but also as a homesteader, because I'm in the wilderness. I have animals. I'm there's predators here. There's stuff to contend with, right? The weather, etc. And then on top of that, when something happens, that like there's always something that's going to happen. Oh, look at that! There you go.
Yeah, I'll try.
For instance,
that's
legitimate.
So people know.
Ah, cool. Legitimately, like my fridge broke. Well, it didn't break. It like leaked all over the floor, and it kept leaking. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna need a new fridge. Like, what am I gonna do about this?" So I phoned one of my friends who's in refrigeration, and he was like, "Well, your fridge." I sent him a picture, and he's like, "Your fridge is leaking." Yeah, I know. And he's like, "Well, Google it." I'm like, oh, okay. So I did just that. I Googled it. I found a similar fridge. I looked at what Buddy did. My fridge was different, but I did the same thing. I cleaned it all out. I pulled it apart. And in fact, putting it back together, the door fit better. Everything was actually better, and it hasn't leaked since. And I'm like, man, if I was in the city, if I was in White Rock, I would have called somebody. They would have come over and charged me like an arm and a leg for that. Or maybe they would have said, I don't know, you need a new fridge, you know? So, like, in a way, dealing with those challenges and stuff by yourself, it really like gives a person a little boost of confidence,
Right.
you know?
I do. So let's go towards this topic. What many the majority of us, like it or not, live in the city.
Mm-hmm.
How can we be a little bit more survival chicks every day in our urban life, and how can we bring that wisdom of nature
Well, that's a
to
good
the
question.
city?
That's a great question. I think I'm sure there's several things that we could do. I think spending time in nature is really important. So it's kind of difficult, I guess, if you're in the middle of the city. But like yourself, you said you go to the lake, right?
Every week, I take half a day or a day, and I go to the park or I go to the lake large enough that I can see a car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah, I think it's really important. There's
Also,
also
yeah.
there's a book written, I think it's called The 3 Day Effect, and they talk about how they did an experiment and they took people that lived in the city. Like one guy in particular, he was like, I do not go out in nature. It's not my thing. Like I stay inside with my electronics. Like this is where I'm happiest. And they're like, okay, well, you're going to come do this little experiment. And they put them in like, a glamping situation, some beautiful tent or whatever. But the point is there was nobody else around and there was no communication, no electronics, no nothing. And so they had nothing to do. So they did that for 3 days. And, by the last, and then they also monitored all of their health systems, right? So they took their blood pressure and all the things they monitored before and then after. And they got to see like this one person who was like super anxious and she had some depression and she's got a family and she's got this and she's like busy busy busy, and by the end of it she said like I was sitting there watching the ants build their little fort and like looking at how they were doing it and counting them, and she's like, I never spent time to do that before, that's ridiculous. And all of her blood pressure and everything just dropped in 3 days. And same with the other guy, who didn't want to be in nature. Like he just was a totally changed inside, he felt like. So it just takes 3 days to be in nature and to have like, a moment to feel different. And I feel that over here. I feel like one of the reasons is I'm away from all of the electronics. I'm away from everybody else's Wi-Fi. Like you live in the city and there's balconies everywhere. How many Wi-Fis do you have when you look at your phone to connect? You probably have 30.
Maybe close to 100.
Oh, oh my God. Oh my God.
You can really feel it
That's insane.
because the other place where I stay, it's. I know that the actual unit is all concrete around, is metal, so it's a Faraday cage, and even
Okay.
the phone reception in there is all very very low, and it's very calm. You walk in, it's very calm, and I realize there's almost no radiation. There's almost no Wi-Fi coming in, and I
Yeah.
don't have Wi-Fi there.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, sleep a
And
lot better.
I think it makes a difference in the sense of, so we are energetic beings. We have a frequency, a vibration of our own. And like, anybody who has touched a radio that is fuzzy, that has some static, and they go to adjust the antenna, and as they
Mhm.
get their hand closer, it starts to sound better. And then they pull their hand away and it goes back to being fuzzy, right? That's our antenna because we're
Yeah,
getting closer to the, right? And so just that alone shows how we are like an antenna. And so if we are an antenna and we are made to receive and transmit because we have a frequency, how am I going to be able to hear your frequency when I'm surrounded by 100 other man-made frequencies around me, not even to mention the humans, right? So
Right.
how am I going to receive if my antenna is like in a sea of antennas, like in a sea of other, frequencies? Like it would be very difficult for me to communicate to you when there's all of this other communication going on.
Very, very true. I sit at a lot of downtown cafes, working from the cafe like everyone else that works from home. Really, it's work from the coffee shop. And you can see people have this nervousness. Usually, it's the leg, the nervous leg syndrome. And then if you turn your Bluetooth on your phone, all these devices, I go, what are these? And then I realize those are the screens that the coffee shop is using, and they each Bluetooth. So they each emit radiation, and then all the headphones. I use headphones with cable, but still, like all around you, they all use the Bluetooth, and all the computers and all the Wi-Fi's. Like you can really feel it.
Yeah.
But even when I go to the little parquet behind the house, it's and I go there twice a day, on the way to the coffee shop and back. I just stay there for a few minutes, and it's just perfect grounding. Even just in a little space, you can do it.
Yeah.
Reduce a little bit.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to get yourself out into nature so that you can be away from all that stuff that gets your leg tapping, that gets the energy high like that,
Yeah,
right? And then, as you're doing, anybody can put some plants in their home.
yeah,
Plants are a filter of air, you know. They're great for eating,
yeah.
right? So anybody can put a plant. I don't care if you don't have a balcony or what have you. You can put plants inside, by your windows.
Right. Or cat.
Yep, you can get a cat. So now you're looking after somebody else. It does really do something for your mental health when you're looking after other beings.
Right.
Like I have to get up in the morning mainly because I have to go let the chickens out.
Right.
And I have to go give them some extra little seeds. Otherwise, they get like their mental health is dependent on me to go out there and look after them. If I don't go and say hi to them and give them a little seed and open up their gate and whatever, they're like, they get all tense and then sometimes they fight.
It's really true because living in a city, you can tell not just by my own experience, but just looking at people around me, how difficult it is because we all live in tiny little condos. Um, the majority of us, and by majority, I don't mean 51%, I mean 95%, live on our own in a tiny little room. You eat by yourself, you sleep by yourself, you do everything by yourself. In many days, your only interaction is this digital interaction, which is wonderful, but it's you don't sense the other person, so to speak. You may go outside, but the interaction is limited to you're on the public transport, you're in the supermarket, you grab a coffee,
And
and
people
most
don't talk to each other.
not much. Some places are I find more friendlier, but Toronto, where I am, as a whole, from everywhere I've been in the world, Toronto is the harshest city socially for some reason, and I could never like put my finger on it. Why is that like that? Um, but what can we do um, to be even in this environment I just described? Have a plant, have a cat, but what else can we do maybe in a mental or heart space to allow us to better flow through life?
Yeah, like, maybe even just going for a walk without your electronics. Not
Mhm.
somewhere in the bush where you're going to go and get lost and then you're going to sue us later for saying this, but but like, go bring your water bottle, bring your little bag of whatever you need, but leave your electronics at home and go for a walk out in nature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, or talk to somebody that you haven't talked to before.
Yeah,
Going down the elevator, say hi.
yeah. there was a very friendly neighbor on the elevator this morning. I was a surprise actually. Like it was so like he was honestly like just asking how I'm doing. I said, "Thank you very much. I'm doing great. How are you?"
Yeah, and I think community is like our most important thing. You know, like you said, most people just live alone in their little space. They don't talk to anybody unless they're looking at the digital world or whatever. But when you actually connect with a human and you have a sense of community that they, oh, look, you live next door. I didn't even know. Like, that's great. Let's talk some more later. Let's hang out.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know from looking at your social media that you have women mostly, right?
Well, no, I have a lot of men. So I called us survival chicks because, you know, I'm a chick. But, and also, like, I come from the city. I don't know how to do anything. I'm not a strong dude who has some skill. Like, that's not me, right? So I'm a first time prepper. I'm not
Hmm.
a guy who's, you know, spent his childhood hunting, etc. I don't have those kinds of skills. So I do. The reason I started this reporting for Survival Chicks really like is because I feel like there's so many women like me that are waking up today to what it is that is going on in the world, and they are frightened because they live alone, they might not have a boyfriend, they don't have the kind of skills that they think they require. They've never planted a garden, they've never gone hunting, they've never raised animals, they've never, and they're living in a little apartment just like you said, and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if there's no food in the supermarket tomorrow? Like, what would I do? They don't
Right.
have a community. So I just started hoping to bring people together in a community of the like-minded. Go, okay, this is where we are. We're all hanging out here. Let's talk. Like, are you close by? You know, like, let's build a community. Let's build channels. You know, like, it feels really good when you have people on your page, like-minded, who you know you can talk to.
Yes, yes. Where would be the best place for people to join your community?
So Instagram or Facebook, I would say, at Survival Chicks. And then I do have a podcast. It's on YouTube currently at Survival Chicks as well. And there I interview people who either have been homesteading and talk about their interesting lives and challenges, or I talk about solutions. For example, I'm really solution based because I think it's important because a lot of the talk in the last 4 years has been very somber. You know, people are worried. And so, if you do something to prepare yourself, you're going to feel better. But also, let's look at the solutions. Like, what can we do? And then more solutions make us feel better. So I am going to be talking to Derek Bros. Derek Bros is a contributing member of creating the Above phone, and that's a non-trackable phone.
The
He's
what?
also
Sorry?
created, it's a non-trackable phone, the
What is
Above
it
phone,
called?
the Above phone.
Above phone.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's like the same price or cheaper than buying an iPhone. So,
Huh.
and he's also created Freedom Cells. Freedom Cells is a community, just like a little bit what I'm talking about. It's probably all over the world, but certainly all over North America. And what you can do is you can go to the Freedom Cells, I think it's .org, and you can see who's in your community, like who's close by you know, in relation to your map, and you can join forces with them. And they do little cells and they do a little bit of education as to how many people should be in there and what each person could focus on, what you can bring to the table, for example. Derek also writes books on solutions and he gives them away. He doesn't even charge for them. They're free on Audible or YouTube. So, pretty cool guy. And I'm going to be doing a podcast with him in the next few days. So, I'm pretty excited about that.
Excellent. When you have the link, post it in this video.
Okay, that
So,
sounds
and
great.
this video is on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and I think on LinkedIn too.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
excellent. back to the contrast of the city and how can I start prepping myself to prep means, it's not easy to pack up and leave, especially if
No,
you have a life, job,
totally.
child, but it's possible.
It's possible. I did it, but not everybody is willing to do it. And it's also there's a like a scale. Like how much are you willing to do? You don't have to do all the things,
Right.
but I would suggest having like a little emergency go bag, either in your car or in your home or both. Specifically on my Facebook page right now, I have a go bag, like a PDF to download that states like the types of things that you could put in your go bag that are super inexpensive that you already have sitting around your home that would really help you in case of an emergency. And so if something does happen, you grab that bag and you go, and you've got some supplies, right? You've got a little bit of food, a little bit of water, you got something for your pets if you need to take them, etc. Or in your car, you could be finding yourself far away from home and something happens, and now you've got that little supply bag. It doesn't even matter if there is nothing going on in the world and everything's safe. If something happens to you in your car breaks down and there's nobody around, now you've got supplies, you're going to be okay.
Very true. I think I found that page. I'm going to share it. Let me see if I know how to do this.
So that is all on my Facebook page right now. There's a series of content about
Is this the right one?
yep, that's the one. So there's a series of posts in the last few days regarding the go bag, also a medical bag. I think it's important to have like medications or remedies in your little arsenal
Right.
so that in case anything happens, right? You're
Mhm.
not relying on anybody else, basically. You're not relying on any systems. You're ready. And I think it feels good for people to know that they are ready. Like if something were to happen, they don't need to, rely on some system that may not be there.
I'm laughing because I cannot not remember people hoarding toilet paper a few years back.
Right. Right.
Which is it's a good humor segue, but you really do need. I mean, I always think about it. Okay, the power goes out for a couple hours, no big deal. The power goes out for a couple of days, all your food is gone, and
And
after a
also,
couple,
how are you going to cook?
how are you going to cook?
Yeah,
And after excuse me, after a while, there's no water because the
that's right.
all these buildings have actually a reservoir on the top, and it by gravity, so it can only be filled with a pump that is powered by hydroelectric power. So if we lose power, we're going to run out of water in the tap after a while,
And the toilet won't be flushable after a while.
and the toilet won't be flushing. So you need bucket of water to flush the toilet.
Yeah, and you're not going to
Or
want to waste that water because you're going to want to drink it. So
some
you need another situation, like another thought of
you
what
need
you're
some
going to do
cat
with your
litter.
waste so that you don't, get contaminated with your own waste products.
That's right. So you need cat litter for the house. You need a
Yep.
cat litter box for yourself.
Well, that could be a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, sometimes maybe it's helpful if you know somebody that is out of the city that you might want to go to their place if it's not that far, for example. Like, is there a plan that you can make if you were to want to leave?
right.
You got to think about those things. At what point would you want to leave? Like, so a couple hours and no power is no big deal, but you don't know when the power is going back on. At 24 hours of no power, is that an indication that you should leave? Like, those are all things to think about, right?
Yeah, and we're very spoiled. We don't really know this situation. We had an ice storm about 10 years back, but wasn't a big deal. And yes, some suburbs got cut off power for a couple of weeks, but downtown was, it was a day or two. No big deal.
And those suburbs who got cut off, like, that's sub-zero temperatures. That's cold, right?
Yeah,
So you got
it
to
was
think about
cold.
how did they keep themselves warm? Were they prepared for that?
Yeah,
How do they feed themselves
yeah,
for 2 weeks?
for 2 weeks.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Assume you have no access to car because everything's frozen or broken or whatever. Um, okay, so I need to get a bit of a emergency bag and some food, and don't forget the can opener. Yeah.
I don't know about cans; those are pretty heavy.
Um, what do you recommend? There's been a lot of talk about the water, the quality of the water, especially the plastic bottles are no good because of the microplastics. The water in the tap is full of junk.
I wish I
What
had my little water bottle handy. I
what
have
kind of
specific,
options do I have for
yeah.
water?
Uh, just for perspective from a holistic medicine practitioner, I wouldn't drink the water out of your tap. I
Right.
know they tell you that it's good and it's clean and all that. I wouldn't drink the water out of your tap. If there is an infestation of like anything of some type of bacteria or virus or whatever, you're not going to know about it until it's reached the population. So for
Mhm.
one, it's not very proactive. They're only going to know once it's too late. But two, there are chemicals in the water to clean the water. Let's be honest with ourselves. They have to clean it somehow. That stuff's not good for your gut. It's not good for your immune system. It's not good. The water is like denatured. It's been running through. If we understand how water works, it's like if you look at it running through a pond, running through some rocks, like down a little waterfall, like the motion of water, no molecular structure of water is the same from one place to another. Water changes, it's alive. And when they take it for the city and they put it through miles and miles of straight stretch, and then they pump it through these pressurized pipes, so straight and pressured, and then it turns a 90-degree angle corner, or 45-degree or whatever. Those are like, that's not normal for water. So it loses its vibrancy, it loses its life, and then the chemical treatment, of course, that goes with the water. So it's not alive, fresh water for you to be drinking. So I would recommend anybody grab a real water filter, not a Brita, like either a Berkey or a reverse osmosis or like a proper water filtration system. If, you know, to drink the water from your tap, that's what I would do personally. That's what I do. Um, and my water comes in from a creek, so it's pretty good. But I do know that they spray Roundup way up there in the towns up top, and it's coming down a hill. So who's to say it's
Right.
not reaching my water source, my creek? So I got my water tested, and I went and got myself like a nice reverse osmosis system. But for your go bag, they do sell bottles of water. There's different kinds. Some of them are a little filter inside the straw, but you have to read the fine print. It has to take care of like 99% of contaminants. Like you want it to look after viruses and germs and pathogens of any kind, because it's really important. And then a lot of them, like the one that I have, I can put it straight into a creek, and then I put the top and I pressure it down, and it filters it in about 8 seconds, and I have fresh, clean water I can drink out of anything.
Amazing. I saw one that has been advertised a lot called Life Straw. Is that a good one?
Well, so I don't want to bash anybody, but they don't last for very long.
Mhm.
And also, it's one of the it's literally like a straw. You got to shove your face in the creek to drink out of, so it's a little bit less convenient. So I would get like a water bottle. I would just do some research on that water bottle to see what it does, because some of them say, you know, it purifies, and then when you read closely, it doesn't say anything about the pathogens or, you know, infections. So that's really what you want to look after as
So,
well.
what is there a brand that you could recommend that does these things? Do you know?
Yeah. So specifically, I should have grabbed mine. I didn't know we were going to talk about water.
Water is everything.
So I have a survival box, and it is, hang on, I'm going to find the link here.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I don't have my website at the moment. It's down. So
Mhm.
that would have been really easy to find. But let's take a look. I have a little survival gear box, and as soon as I find it, I'll tell you where to get it. But it is it has like all kinds of water purification and foraging material and prepping material, like what to do with food, etc. And so it's kind of cool, and it's got this water bottle in it. And so I have to remind myself what the water bottle is called, but it's awesome. Nice. I love it. I actually might have, oh, okay. Here is the box. And oh yeah, I've got a little video on my podcast about it. And so I'm looking to see if I can find the... So Waypost Outdoors. Waypost Outdoors has the box, and now I don't know the name of of the thing. Can you still see me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, great.
No, that's the... I think you can bring your own... You want to share a screen?
Sure, I can do that.
You can try share a screen there.
Okay, where do I do that?
Share. Under the picture should be a share button.
There we go.
And then you got to bring it up. You got to click show on stream at the bottom. If you...
Oh, there we go. Waypost, that's the one. Share.
Waypost, yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then view as tab, is that what we want? Yay!
Oh, we see it, yeah, we see it.
Okay, so that is specifically the water bottle.
Waypost, thank you.
And Waypost is the company that has the box.
So this has the filter in it?
This is the filter. So so it's the Ultra Press, as you can see. So this particular bottle is, so Grail is the company. The particular bottle is next to NASA technology. It is the best water filtration bottle that you can get outside of NASA technology. So okay. Grail.
Ultra Press.
Yeah, and that is the Survival Chicks box.
And when you say Survival Chick box, is this like some sort of a kit that you recommend? Yeah,
it's a little kit, and it's got some cool stuff in it. It's got a really beautiful knife in there that you can hang on your pocket. That's the prize right there, is that water bottle, of course.
Jewels of Survival Chicks.
Yeah, and there's some books in there. Like there's a local lady who wrote a book on how to stock your pantry for, on a budget for a year.
Well, some more photos from the box, please.
Okay, so if I do this,
yeah, it'll show.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can run the video. It'll play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see what we gotta say on the video.
So they can buy your... Oh, okay. They can buy your... Oh, I love it. Okay, so it's got the hat.
It's got a little toque, or a beanie, as we call it in the U.S. That right there is a great book, the foraging book. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Sticker.
Yeah, so amazing books. Local ladies wrote them as well. Cool toque. Wicked water bottle. This is a really beautiful knife right there.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
All in pink.
Pink and purple.
Beautiful. The colors of royalty.
Yeah, so there's other bottles on the market. This is the best technology out there for sure.
Amazing.
And then it's also lightweight, so you can add it to your little bag very easily. It's not going to add any weight. That's the whole thing. So people say, in your go bag, you're supposed to carry water, and it's going to get heavy. You're supposed to carry X amount of water for however many people you have in your home. But I mean, It's so much easier just to grab water. I mean, I would put a bottle of water just in case you can't find water for the first little bit, but then you've got this empty bottle that you can just fill up with anything.
And then you press it, and you got water.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it's good for how many times?
Many. Like you
Many.
can change the filter inside, but it's like thousands of times.
Okay, okay, that's fantastic. Is that good enough? I could literally pee and I like squeeze out the pee and drink it, kind of thing.
Don't know
Not
because
that
now
I would try, but
I don't know because now you've got salt in there and it's not a desalination one, so I can't answer that. I have no
but,
idea.
but it's good enough for the creek.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
How do I unshare?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do it. Stop sharing.
I don't see the button though.
I'll do it. I'll do it. There we go.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. So this kit they can buy, and you designed it.
Yeah.
Amazing. And the store is called Waypost.
Waypost Outdoors. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, what else you got for us?
What else we got? Well, as a holistic wellness practitioner, I do have a website called medicinewomaninc.ca in case anybody wants to know a little bit more about what I do there. I feel like, what this particular life has taught me to move out, to be by myself, not that you have to be by yourself, but to look after challenges and look after animals, like look after things that are outside of yourself. What I find is that I don't have time to sit and ruminate on anything. So when I used to live, oh, thank you. I used to live in Port Moody, for example, and I would go to my job and I would come home and I basically would make dinner and I would eat it in front of the TV because I had nobody there with me. I had nothing else better to do. And then sometimes that would just lead to watching TV for the rest of the evening, right? And so if I don't have anything physically or mentally to do, like I'm just going to preoccupy myself with like technology, right? So today, because I have so much here to take my attention, sometimes I've got a water shortage, or sometimes my water pump isn't working, or sometimes my, whatever. So I find myself like for a little while there, I would wake up and I would find a challenge and I'd be outside in my robe going, like, what am I going to do about this now? I'm like, so every day was a new thing. Or I'd come home I do have a little job across the water at a resort. So I'd come home from work and I would find another challenge. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to figure this out? And then I told the universe, I'm like, okay, can we tone it down a little bit? There's a lot of challenges here. Like a little less would be good. And so now I'm at a little less. So it's great. But my point is, I have a job outside as well. And when we work with people, there's always going to be interactions and there's always going to be thoughts and things, and it's never going to be perfect. And so oftentimes we go home and we ruminate on stuff that happened at work because it wasn't perfect, or you had that interaction with that person, or there's that one person at work that you do a little bit of this with. And so I'm not excluded from those, and I have those interactions. And sometimes, I would have otherwise come home and sat and let that, marinate and, go over and over and over in my brain. Here, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't even have time to like look at, stuff like that. My preoccupation is like the animals and the house and the stuff that's going on here. And so I feel like in a way it's a really healthy way to live because you're preoccupied with like physical and natural things that need your attention. Right. So, yeah.
It's very true. So much of the technology, it's so disassociative.
It takes us away
Yeah.
from dealing with all of those things.
And at the same time, it's really hard to make friends in the city, especially these last years, because you can't talk to anyone. They're always on the screen. They got the thing in the ears.
And I
And
gotta say, like, I live in a, super little small town across the water here, and everybody talks to everybody.
right.
Like, you walk, there's no, at no point can you walk down any of the docks, like the community docks, the government docks, and go by people who won't say anything to you. It's
That's
not gonna
weird.
happen. People are like, oh, hello. Or people will say, can I help you carry that? I'm like, yes.
There's another thing that when you say it comes to mind is the city, especially the last few years. Um, you hear very little English in Toronto. You used to, but now there are so many fresh immigrants, young. Many are very young. Um, they don't mix, and they don't seem to be making friends. They all sit there either in groups and speak in their language, or they're on the phone, or this way, and it is noticeably different. It's not unfriendly, it's just not open. It's not
And
like
also, it
dating,
makes it
it occupies space, but it doesn't interact.
No, and it also makes it more difficult for you to interact with them because hearing the language, already people aren't talking to each other on top of the fact that there's a language division.
Right.
So now people are like, well, I'm not going to talk to that person, even if I was going to consider, because they probably don't speak my language.
I actually saw recently someone online who teaches people how to contact people in the real life, how to approach people, not in like but not in
Wow.
like a pickup, like in actually like
Yeah.
how to communicate.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think that for a lot of the young kids that are growing up in front of the screen, and I do know some people's kids who don't have any outside friends. They have friends all over the world, or so they say, and they're on their screen all day. So for them, they don't feel comfortable around people. Yeah, so I could see.
That's why I drag my daughter to nature once a weekend.
It's a good idea.
It's the only idea, and of course, no, 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 and then like I don't want to leave.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
So there's a
But
little protest, and then she ends up loving it.
oh yeah, yeah, every time.
How old is
Maybe
she?
almost 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's better than going to the lake and breaking the ice with your boots? Like
Yeah.
or throwing
And I think
rocks or whatever it is. Or draw. We do some art drawing
and
outdoors.
I think another thing, like we were talking about how what could we do if we live in the city? I think one thing that would be cool would be to take a course. What if you went out and took a course like in nature, like let's say she could go riding horses. How about learning how to what do you call it? How to pull a bow, like bow and arrow,
Hmm.
right? How to do something like that. Anything that'll build her confidence in nature with animals.
That's really good. Um, a lot of us downtown parents are. It's difficult, especially if you don't have a car, because if you live downtown, you really don't need a car. You really don't. You can walk or ride the bike. Even today, I rode the bike today. It's no big deal. Maybe like 1 or 2 degrees. Perfect riding. I had a great ride. But we do rent a car and we go to my friend's place who has a farm.
Oh, nice.
So it's an hour and a half. So we can go to the farm. So we'll try hit the farm, every few months and really make an effort to go to nature.
Yeah. And then maybe, if it's easier, you can join up with somebody else who wants to do the same thing, who wants to take the same class or whatever. And then that way you can figure out the transportation better, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really good. Um, maybe some before we close, some advice from Rene to the young men and women of the cities, of the urban centers.
Some advice.
Life wisdom.
Life.
How can they stay centered, stay in themselves, make a friend in the city, be in a community? It's you can see a lot of people actually don't have a single friend.
I'm a big fan of meditation, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I should do that one day," and then they don't do it. Um, Big fan of meditation. I think that is a super grounding tool. It's inexpensive. In fact, it's free. And if you don't know how to do it, it's not a thing that we need to stress over. You can go to YouTube and pretty much on any channel, you can find a meditation, a guided meditation, and all you have to do is put your earphones on and listen. That's it. I appreciate doing something like that, because you can center yourself, but also you can connect. We're not alone here. There is a universe, there is the divine, whatever you want to call it. If you're into God, whatever you'd like to talk about, there is something that we can connect to know that we are not alone and to get energy from. And so we can connect, we can have a space to ourselves. And I would like to do that in the morning and in the evening before we look at any of our technology. Like, I like waking up and having some time before I even look at my phone. Like, have some time to yourself, figure out what that looks like. Maybe it's some yoga, maybe it's some meditation, whatever. Really good for the mental health and for the heart and for the insides of your body, really. And then, yeah, maybe you'll want to go reach out and talk to some people. Put your phone down for a couple of minutes in the elevator.
Yeah,
I don't
very
know.
good. It's true. It's almost like
Grow a plant.
yeah, grow a plant. Take 5 minutes for yourself. You're allowed.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah,
Like, not even you're allowed, like, you need to. This is where we are in this life. Like, you need to take time out and be quiet. Be still.
very good.
Yeah.
Um, let's go over your links one more time. And if people want to reach you for anything, do you teach or consult one-on-one or in groups?
So I take on clients for holistic medicine, and that's at medicinewomaninc.ca that you brought up just a moment ago.
Yeah.
And in terms of homesteading and prepping, yep, thank you. Homesteading and prepping. Currently, like I said, my website is on a little bit of a hiatus, so you can find me on Instagram and you can find me on Facebook, and I certainly do respond to people there. And yeah.
Very good. Rene, thank you so much. That was I've learned so much, and I'm inspired to continue.
Excellent. To get
The
yourself
Escape from New York.
What's that?
There used to be a movie in the 80s with Kurt Russell, Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, where he escapes the city and then he surfs a giant wave through all the towers. He just escaped from New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you very, very much. We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rene.